The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hey! A triple feature, 3 films up on the screen. One's a little heavy, one's a little sleek, and one's just caught between. Laugh and cry and overanalyze. Dig through fleams with wide, wild eyes. Grab some popcorn, take your seat. 3 times the fun, 3 times the treat. Hey, a triple feature. That's what we're here to do. What we're here to do. Buckle up, the lights go down, and we'll watch them all with you.
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast triple feature, and I am joined by a full house tonight as we talk the movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Peak Schwarzenegger, as I like to call this era. First, I am joined by Sean Comer, and he's Sean Comer. You're not. How do you do, sir?
Oh, I am cooler than a polar bear's toenails, baby.
All right. And then the next person who chose to be here, asked to be here even, Kat, how you doing?
Oh, I'm just cherry, baby.
Wonderful. And the other person who actually asked to be here, wanted to be a part of this, was not assigned this podcast, David Wright. I'm a little shocked, David. Before I jump into my intro for our Peak Schwarzenegger podcast tonight, this is not your usual brand of vodka.
You're a funny guy, Mark. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Wonderful.
Okay. Sorry, I had to get that one in. Well, no, it's just I like action movies, and I grew up during the golden age of Schwarzenegger. So,
Okay.
yeah, I just saw it on the street. Like, oh, hey, I've seen all 3 of those movies. I wouldn't mind talking about them. So,
I like friends and movies and talking. This seems right up my alley.
oh, a triple feature where one of these films isn't like the one shitty movie that we have to watch to make it a triple feature. Nice.
Yeah, the defining feature of this podcast.
No dark shadows in this
Right?
lineup. Sweet.
Yeah, this is one. This has been kind of a passion project for a little while now. I said this is the year of fun. This is the year of yes. This is the year I do podcasts on stuff I genuinely want to talk about. You know, directors, actors, movies, whatever. So I like Schwarzenegger. I grew up with Schwarzenegger. I am an '80s kid. I was born in 1976. For the Peak Schwarzenegger years, I think I saw all of his movies about or when they came out. So I will come back to you guys in just a moment. Let's get into what we're talking about here. Good old Arnie's rise to cultural dominance is one of the strangest and most revealing stories in the late 20th century American entertainment. An Austrian-born bodybuilder who became a world champion in a niche sport, he transformed himself first into a pop culture image, then into a box office force, and finally into a political figure. All by playing a very specific idea of American power. Unlike Stallone, who built his persona out of pain, grit, and working class struggle, Schwarzenegger arrived as a myth already formed. The idealized body, the unmoved confidence, the physical solution to every problem. He didn't have to become a hero, he was one, and the movie simply found stories large enough to contain him. In the 1980s and 90s, as America was redefining itself after the Cold War, Schwarzenegger became a kind of cinematic shorthand for American certainty. He was the answer to chaos. He was what winning looked like. And his filmography reflects this national mood shift from simple dominant fantasies to increasingly complex questions about what power means and who deserves to hold it. The 3 films in tonight's triple feature, Commando, cinematic perfection, 1985,
Best documentary ever.
Last Action Hero, 1993, and True Lies, 1994, perfectly chart the evolution. Commando, directed by Mark L. Esther and produced during the height of the Reagan-era military optimism, is a prototype of 80s action movie. Its plot is barely a plot. A man's daughter is taken and he tears down the world to get her back. Critics at the time were dismissive, calling it cartoonish and implausible, but audiences understood exactly what it was. It distilled American power fantasy into a pure, effortless form. No guilt, no politics, just victory. Last Action Hero, arriving 8 years later, is the inversion of that myth. Directed by John McTiernan, written by Shane Black, after a famously tortured script process, and released into a Hollywood landscape that was beginning to satirize itself, the film plays Schwarzenegger against the very idea of Schwarzenegger. It shows a boy entering a world where violence has no consequences, where heroes never miss, and where catchphrases are sacred. Critics were split. Some saw mess, others saw critique ahead of its time. But in retrospect, it stands as a self-aware reckoning. What happens when America begins to doubt its own myths? And then finally, True Lies, directed by James Cameron, is the synthesis. It brings together the invincibility of Commando and the self-awareness of Last Action Hero, but does so without irony. This is the most expensive film ever made at the time of its release, a spy epic that merges domestic comedy with geopolitical spectacle. It was widely praised and commercially monumental. It represents the last moment before the action hero archetype gave way to the superheroes, ensemble blockbusters, and CGI-driven weightlessness. It is, in a sense, the end of an era. So what is the through line of these films? They chart the life cycle of American action hero archetype. Commando, the hero is myth, strength without question. Last Action Hero, the hero as symbol, strength examined. And True Lies, the hero as performance, strength integrated into a narrative spectacle. Together, they tell the story of not just Schwarzenegger's stardom, but how America imagined itself. First with certainty, then with self-awareness, and finally theatrical confidence just before the genre changed forever. This is not just three movies. It's a snapshot of the rise, critique, and the final evolution of the American Superman. Speaking of Supermans, Kat, you asked to be here. Why, pray tell? What's your love of Schwarzenegger all about?
So, I mean, lowest common denominator. I love big dumb action movies, and I love big dumb action heroes. And amongst my favorite is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like I wouldn't say obsession, but like if I want to turn my brain off, I'm reaching for a dumb 80s action movie, whether it's Tango and Cash, Commando, Predator, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he is larger than life. I love how he's actually really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a guy who you would think is big and dumb, he's actually pretty intelligent, and he's got great comic timing.
Extremely intelligent.
Yeah, supremely intelligent, and you get to see that intelligence in True Lies,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. It just, I don't know, like I'm a 90s kid. I'm going to be 40 in 5 weeks. You know, like I grew up on this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't care if I'm 2, 12, 32, 40 fucking 7, 65. I will, you know, like if I want to turn my brain off, I'm reaching for Schwarzenegger.
Fair enough. Sean, you were assigned this. I just put triple features on the calendar, and I'm like, Sean. But how did you come to Schwarzenegger?
You know, the earliest Schwarzenegger movie that I remember being in theaters was around the time of the release of Terminator 2.
Ooh.
I didn't even see the first Terminator until years later, and a lot of other of his most successful movies a long time after that. I want to say True Lies hit when I was in about late elementary school, middle school, something like that. What's always stuck out to me about Schwarzenegger, though, is that his story really gets undersold and has been kind of horribly taken over by this misplaced myth about him. Again, like Kat said, there's the idea that he's somehow a moron. Jesus, anything but a moron. In fact, it kind of, Mark, what you read off kind of really undersells his underdog story. Is anybody else getting a crackle of static in their audio?
There's something in the background. I'm ignoring it.
I can't tell. I just can't tell if it's on my end or not.
Here, I will do a sound check. You keep doing your thing.
Okay. Anyway, um, and you go back far enough, and he's the physically unremarkable child of a Nazi policeman in post World War II Austria. He's from the most unremarkable of middle class, flat out poor, whose fascination with exercise started when a soccer coach urged him and the rest of the team to take on some extra conditioning. And that morphed into him falling so deeply in love with it that he started crafting homemade weight sets and exercise equipment out of just whatever he could happen to find around him. He snuck out of Austrian army barracks so that he could go compete in and win a bodybuilding competition. When he came back, he was nearly thrown in the brig, court-martialed, what have you, until the army kind of reasoned, wait a second, Schwarzenegger winning bodybuilding competitions, that's great for our image. So here's the deal, kid. We're going to keep you on. We're going to forget this happened on the condition that you continue training. If we find out that you're slacking off and you're not keeping up your end of the bargain for the glory of Austria, then, it's right back to greasing tanks you go. So he becomes Europe's biggest bodybuilder. He decides to come to America speaking basically no English and with effectively nothing to his name to compete in the most niche of niche sports, a sport his parents begged him to get out of. And then after his bodybuilding days are done, after he's conquered that, he wants to become an actor. Again, despite being in America, speaking no English, having a notoriously hilarious accent, and studios begging him to change his last name. But he puts it. What was that?
I'm so sorry, Sean. But yeah, that accent has that accent is thick as fuck to this day. He's a 78-year-old man. Gotta love him.
Well, but the thing is, the man took acting classes. He worked on it. When he was making Stay Hungry, this little indie flick, the man learned to play the violin. The man actually put in the time to learn to play the violin when he really didn't have to. He studied business, and that's how he eventually as he outgrew one challenge after another, he was able to grow into something else. But as an action star, to kind of bring all this home so we can move on to David, what's really most compelling about him is the fact that, and I'll come back to this probably again and again, with each of these movies, these are stories you could have made with any number of other action stars, but they don't bring his unique combination of not just being physically imposing, not just natural legitimacy, but a certain innate charisma and effort that he tries to bring to kind of find the most out of each role that he's in, even the fairly shallow ones, and really try to bring the most out. It's what sets his performance apart from if something like Commando had been made with Jean-Claude Van Damme or Steven Seagal or even Chuck Norris. They might have similar physical prowess and physicality that they could have brought to the role, but they don't have Arnold's intellect, and that's what set him apart as a true icon.
So when I think about Schwarzenegger, and then we'll move into Commando, the similarities between him and pro wrestling at that time, especially at that time, can't be overlooked.
God, yes.
So much of pro wrestling was built on what guys' bodies looked like, and that was your instrument. That was your instrument. That was your tool, and I'm reminded of, this would be years later, but I am reminded of Paul Heyman and what his mutant ability was, and that was maximizing what was good about you, minimizing what was bad. And the early Schwarzenegger canon is so much of Schwarzenegger and his glistening, muscly body running around doing stuff.
Yeah,
and
he knew what to leverage.
And
he knew what to leverage.
If you look at
he was the Ubermensch.
You look at Terminator, Commando, somewhat Conan. and a few others. And I mean, he doesn't get really talky until a little bit later in his career. But those first early films,
Mark, what about Hercules in New York?
yeah, sure.
Oh,
What
I was
about
Oh
What
what
no!
about Pumping Iron?
I love
Pumping
Pumping
Iron was a documentary. Be fair.
So
Yeah,
my
he's great in
point
it
is,
still.
my point is that everybody was very careful with Arnie. It was very much they knew what they had and what they didn't, and those early movies reflect that. And it's probably why I liked him as much as a kid, because that's the other thing. If you're a kid watching these movies, I'll tell you really quick anecdote, and then we'll jump into Commando, and I'll go to David first. When I started showing Jonas the Rocky movies, I started with 4 because he was a baby.
Smart.
He was like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I needed the one that was going to capture his attention the best. And it's the one with the least amount of dialogue going on and the most amount of action. And if you think about like that, if you were to encapsulate that and kind of shoot it in different directions, you're trying to, whether you're trying or not, if you're going to bring in kids, that's the way to do it, because kids are very visual. And so when you see this superhero running around and you don't care what he says, you're a kid. My God, I didn't start paying attention to dialogue until I was much older. But boy, did I like seeing superheroes and cartoon characters running around doing hero shit. And that was early Schwarzenegger, and that's probably why I loved him as a kid, and I watched all of his movies until I got to be a teenager and became a film snob. So speaking of film snobbery, let's talk about peak cinema, Commando. As I said before, this was directed by Michael L. Lester. This is an efficient film. It was produced by Joel Silver. It stars Radon Chong, Alyssa Milano, a very young Alyssa Milano, a pre-Who's the Boss Alyssa Milano, Vernon Wells, Bill Duke, who's in also every movie of the 80s, and Dan Hedaya. The musical score was composed by James Horner. It was nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Special Effects, but lost to Back to the Future. Someone tell Jesse. It had a $10 million budget and made a tidy sum of $57.5 million. It's a nice, successful, medium-budget Hollywood film. It's like a unicorn. I'll just say I love this movie. When it was done, I high-fived Jonas and Lily Against Your Will. This is such a great movie. It is.
So you were fighting for love.
It is perfect in its efficiency. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, and there are some interesting things that it does. But for the most part, it really, David, and I'll let you have your thoughts on this. It really is a very straightforward, competently, proficiently, efficient movie. Your thoughts, sir?
Okay, just a brief aside before I go into Commando. I think with Arnold's reputation for being that's Predator, Andrew, but thank you. Yeah, his reputation for being not that smart, probably a lot of it comes from being English as a second language when he started his career. Because I don't know if any of you have ever spoken a different language or been in a country where
Spanish, a lot of it.
Yeah. If you're starting out and you start speaking, it's like, oh wait, I sound like a moron because I'm trying to figure out how to say these things
every single day with my store's day crew.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Eddie Izzard's bit. Ich bin ein Berliner. He said, "I am a donut." Just go with it.
Yeah. That was an eye opening. It's like, wow, yeah, like I sound like an idiot. Well, if I was fluent, then they know I'm an idiot. But
that I don't know how it is in Canada, but that feels like such a weirdly American thing to always equate struggling with English as being a sign of lower intelligence when we have pretty easily one of the most unnecessarily convoluted mother tongues of any nation on earth.
Yeah, I mean that could be something you just get anywhere. Like I don't know. That would be an interesting thing for someone to research. But anyway, back to Arnold. But I remember like a famous early speech I saw him do. He's like, "Yo, many of you have not had chance to hear my strong accent. That is because all I say is grunt."
Wonderful.
But he's so self-deprecating and self-aware about it. How did he charmed by it?
Oh, it was absolutely charming.
If you guys are on Reddit, follow him on Reddit. Okay, he is wonderful.
Oh yes.
And he will randomly comment on like other people's posts and comments. He's like, it's all really positive. I really like him.
And it's so genuine. It's not an act.
No, it's not. I mean,
No.
I'm not a huge fan of his politics, but like,
Well, yeah, fair.
here.
Yeah. Anyway, so this doesn't just become the let's talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast. So Commando.
Oh.
So Commando. Like this film is probably, I think if you went onto TV tropes and like just clicked on like action movie tropes, Commando would be listed as a source for every single one of them. This is like the quintessential Schwarzenegger, 80s, 90s action movie. It's got the one-liners. It's got the big muscly guy. The suit up sequence at the end. It's just it's a wonder to behold. And yeah, there's just the plot is a shoestring plot. It's like a kung fu movie plot. We just needed an excuse for people to punch each other for 90 minutes, and that's all it needs. It's so beautifully simple and effective. All the one-liners land. All the action scenes are good. Like just turn off your brain. Don't ask why all like this one guy versus like 500 cartel drug smugglers with machine guns just can never hit a single bullet, but he could snipe everyone between the eyes with a flintlock pistol.
Yeah. Bless him.
Which is the thing that follows him into the next two movies, man. He is an A shot in every movie.
Yeah, like Last Action Hero might be the film that kind of really tried to capitalize on the Schwarzenegger stereotypes, but I think Commando was definitely the peak for having every single thing in that one movie gloriously perfect.
Well, I think you said something brilliant there, David, and then I'll go over to Kat. Like, I hadn't because I watched it when I haven't watched Commando since it came out. Like, I'm pretty sure that was an HBO movie that I watched on a Saturday morning before my parents got up, and just was in love with it. Watched it with hard eyes. And then I never thought about it again. Other than like it's one of Arnold's like early movies, and I also now want to run around in camo and shoot people. He was a Superman. He was a great action figure come to life. But for a good long time, before action movies are going to take a hard left into different territory, a lot of action movies are aping Commando. Like so many of them.
Like the first time I watched Commando, I was like, oh, that's where that's from.
Well, it's so funny. My son and I were having that conversation as we were watching it. He was just like, this movie seems all very familiar and I've never seen it before. I'm like, yeah, because every movie kind of was doing a Commando for a while. Speaking of doing a Commando, Kat, your thoughts?
Oh,
right. So, like I said, these are movies to turn brain off too. So I have an 8-year-old. You guys saw him grab me and kiss me. He loves Arnold. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, he's a sweetie. Like he loves Arnold. He loved. I showed him Terminator 1 and 2 over last summer, and he sobbed during Terminator 2, like we all do. But so I have only seen Commando twice. Once was 2 years ago. That was my very first time. And then the second time was 2 days ago, right? Like I plugged my computer into my television. I snuggle up in bed. I turn it on, and I'm like, this might be the gayest thing I've ever seen. This is gayer than.
I don't need a gun to do you, Matrix. I don't need a fucking gun.
Oh, not on the first date. My goodness.
So for somebody, so as a person in the
Big meaty men slapping meat.
dude, I mean, look at Bennett. Look at Bennett.
Look at that mesh shirt.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, we're all terrorists here, and we're going to manipulate you into killing a president. But also, look at my goth gear.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Seriously, he looks like a backup dancer for Judas Priest, you know.
Honestly, John, after kidnapping your daughter, we're all going out clubbing. So
Exactly.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
You're a turbo lover. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I say this as a feature, not a bug. Okay.
Your action scenes say breaking the law, but your wardrobe says chains of love.
No. God damn it! Now that song's stuck in my head.
There are worse songs, way worse songs.
Yes, there
Oh,
are.
yes.
We're not going to get into them right now because we're being serious. We're talking about Commando.
Commando is serious business.
Mhm.
Indeed. So yes, just like I said, this movie is, and this also might be me aping from another YouTuber that I respect, who talks about the absolute homoeroticism in this movie and Showdown in Little Tokyo and yada yada yada. But I watched it and I'm like, Jesus Christ, just blow each other already. Like,
On the Greatest Movie Ever podcast, which I will plug when I'm referencing a joke, is they were talking about, like, Bennett's falling out with Matrix and him having to leave the military in the past and wondering why, and they eventually just settled on "Don't ask, don't tell."
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Also, I gotta tell you, like, I forgot that the black dude that's not Carl Weathers is
Bill Dukes.
I love Bill Dukes. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I know he's passed away. R.I.P. Bill Dukes. You're great. But I was like, oh, it's the other black dude that's not Carl Weathers in Predator.
It's Timu Carl Weathers. Look at that.
Oh my god! And
then what's Ving Rhames?
Not either of those things. He's a
Ving
legit
Rhames,
actor.
are you kidding me? Oh my god! And I cannot wait to talk about him when we do
Ving Rhames didn't have to famously go on an interview and publicly whine that he doesn't get enough star action roles.
Fair.
That was Carl Weathers.
Whatever.
Carl Weathers in the promo material for Action Jackson was just like, as a black man, I don't get a lot of lead roles. I'm always a villain or I get killed early on. And the world just kind of looked at him and went, "You're fucking Carl Weathers. You're not Denzel Washington. Shut up."
Yeah, sorry. Not everybody can be a Creed. My bad. But it's not my fault that you got your ass handed to you by someone who's 5'8".
How great would it have been if we would have gotten Carl Weathers, Wesley Snipes, Bill Dukes, and Ving Rhames all in the same action movie?
Ooh, and Fred Williamson.
Oh God, yes, and Fred Williamson and McKelty Williamson. Actually, I'd throw him in there too.
Ken Foray. Okay, back on topic, guys.
Any other thoughts about the movie Cat?
Ken Foray. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Also, we've got Sally. I wish I had some glass bottles around here to do Warriors come out to play.
David E. Kelly.
He's also Sam the Sleazebag from Who Adventures of Ford Fairlane, which is where my mind went. But no, I fucking love I love this movie, like in spite of it being a big goofy action film, you can see the love that he has with his daughter Alyssa Milano. Obviously she's not the boss. It felt kind of weird that they had to like shoehorn a romantic subplot with Rae Chong.
Poor Rae Chong. I had to explain to Jonas the importance of Rae Chong in this era of filmmaking.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, Jonas, all the B movies, all the action movies, all of that. Yeah, one chick, Rae Chong. She was in all of them.
She's an icon. She's a legend, and she is the moment. I mean, look at her.
Yep.
So,
I'm gonna go ahead, finish up.
All right. Out of all of the Arnold movies that I've ever seen, this is the most Arnold movie that has ever been produced. This feels like you type in his name in AI and it's just him. Like
Commando is what AI thinks an Arnold movie is. Wonderful.
Yeah. The prompt was make me the most Arnold Schwarzenegger movie possible.
Just rewrite Commando. It's Commando, fuckface.
Exactly. Exactly. And come on, John Matrix. That's like
John Matrix.
I think this supposed to be in Scott Hero.
I will never be that cool, okay?
Right.
No one I know will ever be that cool to have the name John Matrix.
Oh,
And
God.
dash, okay? So,
Sean, your thoughts about Commando?
Oh, God. His name is John fucking Matrix. Anyway. I'm reminded of a conversation that I once had with Cole Marentet early on when I started reading comics. And I remember taking in Watchmen. And keep in mind, I had not read it up to that point, and I was in about my, I think, early to mid 30s. And I felt kind of like it had been maybe a little bit overhyped by how great I had heard it was. I had heard it was at the time, and how original and distinctive it was. And I kind of ran feeling underwhelmed by Cole, and Cole, who's always been very understanding of me at times like this when I'm kind of missing the perspective on something that I'm just now picking up that everyone else has been really keen on. He points out to me that when something was as groundbreaking and influential once upon a time, and it served as the touchstone for so many works that came after it and became arguably even better known in their time, you know, the pioneer can kind of seem a little unassuming in terms of just how great it really is. And that's kind of how I feel about this. Is I feel like this is pretty much baseline, like starting blocks Arnold. And the remarkable thing about it is he would continue to grow so much as an actor over the course of his career. But in this one, I'm not going to say he coasts exclusively on his physicality, because he does bring a kind of legitimacy that so few action stars of his generation could match. Stallone was probably the only one who could actually come close, despite, you know, looking like someone ran Arnie through the dryer on a high heat cycle. But the fact is, he carries so much with his presence, but then he does something that no other action star of his generation can do. And that is, he injects charisma and genuine likability. Kat mentioned his relationship with Alyssa Milano. I think of his generation. I think of the action stars who could have pulled that off. And the only one I can really think of who would have been really convincing would have been Bruce Willis. And even then, he wouldn't have been the same statuesque, godlike figure marching across the battlefield and becoming an international insurance night terror the way Arnold does so convincingly. I guess Wesley Snipes maybe could have, but I don't think he really kind of grew into that kind of maturity until he was really a few movies in, until I would dare say probably something like White Men Can't Jump. I don't. New Jack City maybe showed that it was there, but I don't think he really kind of grew into that range until he got to stuff like White Men Can't Jump, something like To Wong Fu, movies that really kind of challenged him. But here, it's Arnold, as we talked about before, earlier, knowing exactly what was going to work and what wasn't, what he could leverage and what he had absolutely no business depending on. He's a man who knew who he was and knew how to get the absolute most out of that at the time. Now, he would grow and become more as his career went on, but for right now, you know, he had to be, of course, painfully aware of his accent and how it was perceived and what it was that really, you know, drew studios to him. And he took that and absolutely turned the volume up to 12, ripped the knob off, and threw it into the ocean here. And the thing is, he would go on to make the same kinds of action movies, roughly. But he would take a movie like, say, well, Kat brought up Terminator and Terminator 2. You think about Terminator 2 in particular down the line, and it's him leveraging that same physicality, that same presence, but he's managing to somehow make the T-800 not just completely distinct from watching Arnold as John Matrix, but also take a character that's supposed to be very bland and deadpan and actually manage to generate a very real emotional attachment to him by the end of T2. Something that on paper, when you think about it, it's like when you think about the original pitch for The Undertaker back in 1990, it's one of those things that absolutely shouldn't have fucking worked. It seems like nothing he does in a lot of movies should work, but he just has that kind of charisma and that kind of innate confidence in himself that he can take it and make it work. And it's just, I'm sorry to kind of go all, inside the actor's studio here, but it really makes every action movie he makes, from Commando right up through, True Lies, and I would say even something like End of Days, a real treat to watch as he grows in ways that like Seagal and Van Damme and even Chuck Norris and Stallone never really did.
I want to add two elements to this, two things I really like, and I'm going right into Last Action Hero, and I'll again start with Kat this time. One of the things I like about this movie, and I think does well and other movies could learn from, because it's so easy to dismiss this movie as early stupid Arnie and there's nothing to gain from this. Actually, this is a great movie to show film students because of its efficiency, but also because it does the following. It gives everybody something to do, and it's believable in their character. Everyone's, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here, so I'm going to say what I need to say also efficiently, and that's all that's going to get said about it. Everyone's problem with a lot of modern women in film now is they're given way too much. They're more than their character could seemingly do, and generally speaking, at the cost of the rest of the cast. They don't do that to Radon Chong, and they don't do that to Alyssa Milano here. Both of them get a hero moment that seems very well within their character. You have this businesswoman who was a part of a felony armed breaking and entering, where they steal a bunch of guns, and she ends up with a rocket launcher, and the first thing she does is shoot it backwards. Love it, wonderful. She turns around, she's like, "Oh shit!" It's like, okay, here we go. I get a second shot at this, like Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Wait. You wonder if Pauly Shore watched Commando before he did In the Army now and said, you know what?
Right on. So she gets a second shot at it. She shoots him and she saves Arnold from the cops. Great. Wonderful. She isn't Superman. She isn't Wonder Woman. She gets to do a thing and gets to save the hero once. Awesome. Loved how they did that. Alyssa Milano, it would have been very easy for her to just be Princess Peach. She's just in a tower waiting for Mario to save her. Nope. She escapes on her own.
Yep.
And not through force of will, not because Sean, remember this? Let's go in the Wayback Machine, Sean. How far back? Way, way back. She doesn't do a gymnastics routine and kick a dinosaur through a fucking window. She's not able to manhandle a full-grown man who was in the armed forces. She pulls a doorknob off, manages to wedge out some wood, and crawls her small-ass body through a hole.
Oh,
and fucking Bennett, I'm just gonna juggernaut this shit. Fuck you. Just run through it. Wonderful. But I think those are really great examples of you can have women doing cool, strong stuff within reason and relative to what the character is. If you write a normal office chick, she has to be able to do something relative to a normal office chick. If you write a 9-year-old girl, you have to write to a 9-year-old girl. You can't have her doing what Arnold does.
I would like to throw.
Now.
I would actually throw one thing in. I had to think about it a second, but I kind of get where you're coming from. I would say that's unfortunately one of the things that kind of works against Mila Jovovich in the Resident Evil movies.
Mhm.
is I think about the fact that, as I would find out later, she did a solid like 98% of her own fucking stunts in all those movies, except for the ones that where the studio said someone has to tell you no sometime, and we're telling you no right the fuck now. But the thing is, the way she's presented, I now kind of realize creates kind of exactly the problem that you're talking about. Like, we're talking about the difference between Linda Hamilton handing the orderlies their asses in Terminator 2 after doing all of the pull-ups and all of the push-ups throughout the entire movie, including to one poor extra who Linda Hamilton warned him wasn't hitting her hard enough. And Mila and the infamous wall kick in the first Resident Evil movie was the fact that Linda was doing it in her institution jammies. With Mila, for some reason, they had to cram her in. They had to cram her into a red mini dress.
All right, Kat, I'm gonna give you the last
do it
word.
in heels.
I'm gonna give you the last word on this cat subject. And as soon as you're done, we're moving into last action hero. Go.
All right, so real quick, I literally this just dawned on me maybe a minute ago. So this might be the first movie that you actually get to like Arnold as a character, because before this he was Conan, which fine, whatever, and then he was the Terminator, a fucking villain.
Right.
But no, you get to like. This might be the first movie that he says more than 6 words in. Okay.
Yes, you get to see him. You get to actually see him act.
Yeah, like, you know, you get to see him like be a dad and interact with his, you know, his.
You believe those two like each other by the end of that opening sequence. Last action hero.
Exactly.
Is a 1993 American fantasy action comedy film, throw enough qualifiers in there, directed and produced by John McTiernan, and as I said before, co-written by Shane Black and David Arnott. It is a satire of the action genre associated with clichés, containing several parodies of action films and forms of films within a film. It obviously stars our friend Arnie, and then Austin O'Brien co-stars as Danny Madigan, a boy magically transported into the Slater universe. Charles Dance as Mr. Benedict, a ruthless assassin from the Slater universe, who escapes to the real world. Schwarzenegger also served as the film's executive producer and plays himself as the actor portraying Jack Slater. This film also marked Art Carney and Tina Turner's last feature film before their deaths in 2003 and 2023, respectively. It failed to meet the studio's expectations at the box office. It was both a critical and commercial disappointment. Made money, not a lot, not enough. Since its release, it's gained a cult following, with some noting that it is an underrated Schwarzenegger catalog. Yeah, I don't remember loving it when it first came out, but I liked the rewatch of it. It was budgeted at $85 million. It made 137.3. I'm gonna not give my thoughts just yet. I'll go dead last. David, your thoughts on the last action hero?
Yeah, so with Schwarzenegger, there's sort of two great strengths that he has, like as an actor. One is he's very good at action, which I think Commando really shows off, and 2, he's really good at comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, and he tends to like sort of alternate. You know, like for every Terminator, there's a twins. You know, for every Commando, there's a kindergarten cop, and so on. So
I really wanted to stay in strictly peak action Schwarzenegger. The problem is there is no such thing, because he did these both after Twins, which I didn't realize until I picked them. Go ahead.
Yeah. All good. Yeah. So this is, I think this film sort of represents sort of like peak Schwarzenegger, in that this is a Schwarzenegger movie about Schwarzenegger, where they kind of actively call out and play with all of the tropes and stereotypes from his catalog. And to their credit, a lot of that stuff is great. Like the film's greatest strengths is all the stuff poking fun at, like, you know, Hollywood action movies and, you know, the myth, the legend of Schwarzenegger himself. Like I still guffaw at the thought of, like, you know, Schwarzenegger as Hamlet. That is one of the best things ever put to film. Like if I'm ever in a conversation with Shakespeare, it's just like, have you seen the Schwarzenegger Hamlet? Because it is like the best thing ever.
That's a thing. I need to see that thing.
Yeah, it's like they're like the kids like in English class, and the teacher's like, oh, some people might say that you know, Hamlet was the first action hero, and she's just like playing this like old like Laurence Olivier, boring as shit, black and white Hamlet. It's like to be or not to be, and the kid's just like, this is so boring. And he starts imagining like what if Schwarzenegger was Hamlet's like, something is rotten in the spirit of Denmark. And it's like, hey Claudius, you killed my father. Big mistake. And he's just like going through the castle, like machine gunning people down. Like the very end is just like him standing in the foreground. The castle's in the background. It's like to be or not to be. Just lights a cigar. The castle just blows up. Not to be.
Isn't that like a critic bit?
Love that.
It should be, but like, it was just like that was just one of those like I have fallen off of the couch. My sides are just in sheer pain because I just cannot stop laughing. Like I'm sure they had a lot of fun doing it, but yeah, like the bits where they go into the movie and they sort of trying to explain like no you don't get it, you're in a movie, like I'm part of the audience, and they're just like playing around like all the tropes.
I'll tell you right now, my fall off the couch laughing moment in that movie was completely different from yours.
Okay.
I can't fucking reason trying to do it. Oh man, review of the Diary of Anne Frank. As soon as that, I had to pause it, put my head between my knees for about 30 seconds until I could stop laughing just long enough to rewind it and make sure that I heard what I heard.
Send that to me.
Like he takes it to the video store to show him like the standee of Terminator 2 and it's Stallone instead of Schwarzenegger. Oh, I love that guy's movies. And it's just, I mean, I could just like spend the next like 5 minutes just quoting jokes from. I won't.
And this was back when they were very genuine rivals too.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. This is like sort of peak. Like those are the two. The two action stars. I don't know if they ever had a personal rivalry, but yeah, that was sort of the.
They kind of did actually.
Okay,
I believe the rivalry was kind of genuine between them for a little bit.
Wait a minute, weren't they investor? Wait, I think they were joint investors in like.
They were at Planet Hollywood. It was them.
Well, eventually, yes.
Eventually, yes, but be more.
Well, eventually, yes, they were, but there was absolutely a time when.
Sean's frozen.
CM Punk territory,
but
it's more like maybe CM Punk John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, some of the action scenes were decent. I can kind of remember the one where they're like hanging from the crane, but yeah, I think the main thing this film suffers from is like it's. And a lot of comedy movies do suffer from this is they've got all these great jokes, but they just can't quite bind it together into like a coherent whole that really kind of works.
Long. This is a Saturday Night Live sketch that was stretched way past the point, way past the breaking point. This is over 2 hours long. When I watched it with my kids, at some point, my Jonas just looked at me. He's like, "How the fuck long is this movie?" And I checked the time. Like my girlfriend, notoriously impatient, is like, "What is this? 8 hours?" Like it's 131 minutes, and it's way too long.
Yeah, it could have used a bit more work to tighten up the script a bit, but it's weird. It is, if you like those action movies, especially Arnold, I think it's certainly one worth watching just for the humor and the call outs alone.
Sean, go ahead and give your thoughts, and then I'll go to Kat, and then I'll clean up.
My God, this movie was the fucking open beta test for JCVD, Scream, Cabin in the Woods, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. This was the super early, flawed, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks test for deconstructive cinema. And it is fucking glorious. It is so commendable how Arnold manages to stay so in the joke, in kind of contemplating himself and his legacy and the parody he kind of never intended, but he's still choosing to lean into it.
I'll be back. I bet you didn't think I would say that.
It's something that is so much smarter than it got credit for at the time, because everybody at the time was so hung up on lambasting this movie for being something that it never wanted to be in the first place. Everyone went into this wanting another Commando, wanting another Terminator. And ultimately, the reaction they gave was equivalent to biting into a filet of fish sandwich and declaring it the worst filet mignon you've ever had in your life. What do you really have to be mad about? What this movie was, not every movie exactly has succeeded at. Some of them really kind of go so far that they truly get up their own ass. But as I'm watching this, I was kind of waiting for that moment, and it didn't really come. And I think that comes about because if you're going to really dissect an entire genre and put its tropes on trial, I don't think there is a better trio for that time that you could have enlisted than Shane Black, John McTiernan, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Absolutely three of the smartest figures in that genre. And they even managed to rope in a real heavyweight cast for the time to start on that. Maybe not the absolute super heavyweights at the time, but certainly people with some recognizable faces and names. It's a movie that I'm really glad that history is being much kinder to, because again, it's another example of, at the time, and by we I'll refer to my generation, I think a little more than Mark's, our parodies of Arnold Schwarzenegger were so much further off the mark than any of us realized. Kat kind of alluded to it. He's always had his personal foibles. He has virtually always had some objectionable politics on some scale or another. But one thing he's never really been, I think, for the most part, is really wholeheartedly malicious on a scale like we see from some famous figures today. And he's certainly, given his stature, more willing than expected to take the piss out of himself and to take some shots on the chin and kind of really sell them. He doesn't really use the movie as a clapback at his critics like I think a lot of action stars could have, or maybe even would have wanted to. Hi, Seagal. How you doing? There's a reason.
Godzilla.
There's a reason you were never in this echelon. Yeah, I would throw Godzilla in there too. But Arnie got it. He is an action hero that never truly forgot where he came from. And it has absolutely shown throughout the length and breadth of his career, so much so that I would even consider being in something like The Expendables kind of a downgrade, considering how hard he really worked to sort of outgrow that, to not be kind of forced into that pigeonhole. And then he kind of retreats back into it for some movies that I imagine were both easy paydays and were probably fairly fun for him to make. But still, in terms of quality, when you look at everything else, not just in terms of the peak action stuff, but the stuff like Last Action Hero, like Twins, like even Conan, where I'll say he may not say much, but what he does say in it has some weight to it. It really kind of makes a lot of what he made afterward artistically seem like a step down, even if it might have been a step up commercially or financially for him. So it's a movie with a complicated legacy.
Yeah.
Kat, your thoughts on The Last Action Hero?
So I'm just going to begin with this. So for any of us who remember like the early to mid 90s, there is like a cultural shift when it comes to action movies. They become a little slicker, a little darker. You get Reservoir Dogs, you get Pulp Fiction, you get From Dusk Till Dawn, you get Desperado, you get people like Tarantino and Rodriguez and Catherine Bigelow. So like
they're much more grounded.
Yeah, they are. I don't even know if they're grounded, but like it's slicker. It's
Pulpy.
The real
pulpy.
The way to frame this is
pulpy. Yeah.
by the mid to late 90s and into the 2000s, we were shifting away from the Superman into your dad is the hero. It's the everyman.
not even necessarily the everyman.
Well, and
Like,
then the other side of that is what the Matrix did to the film world.
you
So
know,
it's either
but-
so
Don't
it's either
forget Jason Bourne.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
people don't actually need to see action scenes anymore.
they
I mean-
look closer to like
No,
normal looking
no.
men than not. Go ahead, Kat.
Right. Okay. So, I guess the way that I'm trying to frame it is that this is probably one of the last light action movies that we get for a very long time in the 90s, because
Mhm.
everybody gets it, because everything gets a little darker, a little grittier. There are no true heroes anymore. There are no true on the villains. Um, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets replaced with like maybe George Clooney in From Dusk Till Dawn, or a Ray Fiennes in Strange Days, and yada yada yada. So this movie feels too late. Honestly, it feels like it should have been made about 5 years earlier, but piggybacking off of what Sean said about it being self-referential and meta, it's also certainly way ahead of its time, because he's absolutely right. Within a few years, we get Scream, we get like we get Bride of Chucky, we get Mask of Leslie Vernon, we get yada 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 yada, where the characters are self-aware,
Right.
way ahead of its time. And the whole thing is just kind of a treat for the eyes. Like, it feels like an Easter basket. Like, there's something going on in every scene. There's so much to look at, so much to find, especially when they go into the precinct and you see like the cartoon cat and
Voiced by Brad Dourif.
yes, and and like the two female cops who look like they walked out of like Chopper Chicks from Zombie Town or Frederick the Hollywood or something. I love it. It's very pulpy, very Akira, very heavy metal. I love it so much. And what the fuck is Charles Dance doing in this movie? Because he's brilliant.
I would dare say this is a spoof better than literally half the Naked Gun movies.
You know what?
it is.
I'm
Yeah, I
not
think Loaded
even
Weapon
like-
only comes close.
What?
So I think Loaded Weapon is the only film that comes close.
You know what? I am actually going to agree with you on this one, because honestly, Last Action Hero felt like Lethal Weapon, and I think it's because of
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shane Black. Because Shane Black
Oh sure,
like-
sure.
Shane Black writes with his dick, and I'm okay with that. Like his dialogue and Predator to this to like everything is big and splashy, and it just I can't even. It feels like pure testosterone, but like not like toxic, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Just so much
all right.
like. Sorry, go on.
All right, you were going for a drink. I figured you were pausing. A couple of things about this movie. I do think it was made way too late. The problem with Schwarzenegger by this point is he's a Marvel movie.
Mhm.
Every Marvel movie is expected to make $1 billion since the Avengers. So when they don't, they're underperforming. Even if they make money. Like this last Superman's a really great example. This last Superman, when it was greenlit, this James Gunn Superman was supposed to make $1 billion. It didn't. It underperformed. It's disappointing. Did it make money? Yes. Did it make a profit? Probably. But it didn't do what everyone thought it was going to do. And some people, not everybody, but some people associate that with bad. It also does not meet expectations. Because when you go to see an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, you go to see him do a Rambo, which is it's him versus 100 gorillas. And I don't mean GU, I mean GO. Okay? It's just Arnold Schwarzenegger just cutting through, lines of people, doing quippy dialogue, all of that. That's what everyone goes to see a Schwarzenegger movie. They didn't go to see Commando smashed with the never-ending story. Like, and, you can get away with what they got away with in Terminator 2 with Edward Furlong, but most people, if you go to see a Schwarzenegger movie, really don't want to see him pair up with a kid. So this movie's a lot of what I think if it's a niche movie for a niche audience, there's a lot about this movie that can, which I will outline in a moment, that I think is worth talking about, that I think is worthy. The problem is this is supposed to be a mass market, wide appeal Arnold movie, and it has too much stuff in it that people who go to see those movies at that time didn't want to see, don't like. So I already said it's too long, which doesn't help its mass appeal. I don't understand what they were thinking with this. This needed to be cut down by about 30 minutes at best. The other thing is it wasted a really fun premise. Because they wanted, this movie is a little schizophrenic. They don't know what they want to do with it. So it's like we want to kind of make fun of Arnold films, but we also want to do a boys' power fantasy. But we also want to do this thing where we can take stuff out of the movies and have fun with that. Well, are you gonna? No, there's no time. Okay, why did we give Charles Dance the ticket then and have him keep it and have him imply he's going to pull Godzilla and Dracula and all these people out of the movies for them to not do anything substantial with that? That last act should have been Space Jam 2. It's just like everything that studio had, like 20th Century Fox had, should have been coming out of the fucking screen and running at Schwarzenegger. Like, what do we do with this? Trying to get, then Schwarzenegger's trying to get the ticket, trying to like shove people back into the damn movies. Like, that would have been great, and people would have had a lot of fun with that. Instead, we're doing a full circle thing where we start with throw the kid off the roof, and then we're back to throw the kid off the roof, to complete that circle. And I'm like, well, I get your point, but no one wants to see this. Like, come on, man, go get a monster from a Fox movie. Let's go. Like, what are we doing here? So there's that. I said this is an SNL sketch stretched way too long. They spend way too long in the movie with Schwarzenegger. Him needing to come to grips with the fact that he's not real needs to happen about the midway point of the movie, and then they need to get out of there. Then they need to go into the real world and go, and deal with Charles Dance fucking around with the ticket. They spend way too, like, there's too much going on in the fake world where it's like, well, is this the plot of the movie? If they solve the movie plot within the movie, then we're done. Well, no, because we have to start a whole new movie with Charles Dance in the real world. And it's like, what story are we telling here then? Mm-hmm. So it's a little muddled. And I can guarantee you, like, for a lot of people, muddled is bad. And there's not a lot of, like, if you just want to see Arnold do stuff, he does, I guess, enough stuff, but that's probably not satisfying enough for most people. I don't think Last Action Hero is the worst movie ever. I don't think it's the worst Arnold movie ever. I remember Raw Deal. But
Red Heat.
Yeah, Red Heat. But I think that they can't remake it because you can't do what they did with this. Not enough of the right components in 2025 to remake this movie. But I would, if I had a time travel device and I could go back and fix it, I think this movie would have been great had they made the fixes that I just talked about. David, since you went first, is there anything else before we move on to True Lies?
I think the only thing I would just add is, like, real credit to Arnold being a producer on this thing and being okay with a lot of the jabs that this film takes at him in his career.
I think Sean said that he's really self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Like, because we went long in the beginning, I didn't want to talk about this, but I'll say it now. One of the things that makes Arnie is that he has, like, a 10 out of 10 charisma. And part of that is his knowing that, like, he has a really weird face, and at times, and he has a funny accent, and he knows he can be self-deprecating, but he also knows he's the shit. And so
Well,
it's
it's
like,
the-
I don't mind laughing
yeah.
at myself because I'm
Yeah.
rich and famous and
Yeah,
talented.
it comes from a place of confidence. Like this
Yeah,
is Arnold at
yeah.
like the peak of his powers. You know, he's made the money, he's got the cachet. You know, like he knows he's the shit, but he's
Yeah,
quite
he's
happy
also
to
He's also
to poke fun
had
at.
as much success as he's had failure, and he knows. One of the things I love about Arnold, we didn't talk about. Sean kind of alluded to it. Was he gets written off because people are dumb, but really Arnold is a great model of a human being. I'm not saying everything he does is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm saying
No, far from it.
in terms of like he learns from his failures, he learns from his successes, and he tries to just be a better dude as he goes along. And he doesn't let his successes tear him down. He doesn't let his failures. He doesn't let his failures tear him down. He doesn't let his successes get blow his head up too much. He strikes me as a guy who tries to stay as grounded as possible because he knows what a lot of actors come to find out if they're not careful. This is all tenuous. You can lose.
I would add that he really seems to own a lot of his mistakes. I really can't think of, and it is altogether possible I am missing something. I really can't think of too many scandals where the real scandal was that he covered anything up. It's not like he never did anything wrong, but usually when it comes to light, I think it's more so his tack to usually, own it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
that's why he's
there's no excusing it. There's no gaslighting it.
Mm-hmm.
By and large, it's I fucked up.
Yeah, and then that leads to your marriage falling apart. And speaking of marriages falling apart, True Lies.
Woo! All right. True Lies by one of cinema's great wasters of film, James Cameron. No, I'm just kidding.
Aww.
Oh,
like
that's a bit harsh.
he shoots so much film. His movies are like 12 hours long.
Yeah,
I know. And how many billions have they made?
I know.
Come on, Mark. We're Peter Jackson fans. We can only rail about that so much.
True
get
Lies,
railed.
True Lies is a 1994 American action comedy film written and directed by James Cameron. He plays Harry Tasker, a U.S. Schwarzenegger plays Harry Tasker, a U.S. government agent who struggles to balance his double life as a spy with his familial duties. Jamie Lee Curtis is his unknowing wife. Tom Arnold, Bill Paxton, Art Malik, Tia Carrera, a young Elijah Dushku, much like a young Alyssa Milano, and Charlton Heston star in supporting roles. The screenplay is based on the 1991 French comedy film La Totale. This is the first film to cost $100 million. It was budgeted at $120 million. It made $378.9. It won a bunch of awards. It won
Rightfully so.
Jamie Lee Curtis won for funniest lead actress in a motion picture at the American Comedy Awards. It was nominated but did not win for best visual effects at the Academy Awards. Jamie Lee Curtis also won for best actress in a motion picture at the Golden Globes. James Cameron won best director at the Saturn. Jamie Lee Curtis won best actress at the Saturn. And John Bruno of Digital Domain won Best Special Effects at the Saturn Awards. So quite a legacy film here. I'm going to go to you, Kat. What did you think of True Lies?
Okay, so this has been one of my favorite movies since it came out 30 some odd years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the perfect Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. This is easily the best of our bunch, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's great in this. Just the dialogue between him and Jamie Lee Curtis sells it for me. She asks him if he's ever killed anyone, and he goes, "Yes, but they're all bad people." And
They're
he's
all bad.
Honey, next time, duck.
Yeah, next time, duck. Like, and he's on truth serum, so you know that's what he believes.
Yes. Are we going to die? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, are we going to die, Harry? Yeah. No, it's just, and of course she's amazing in it. There's like, you could tell me that Jamie Lee Curtis shot a baby, and I'd be like, well, what that baby do? She can do no wrong in this.
They're
She
all
can do
bad.
no wrong in this.
Yeah.
Like when she rips her dress apart and takes the vase, takes the flowers out, and just so fucking sexy. I've had a crush on her ever since.
Yeah, that segment of the movie probably jump started a few kids through development.
So that
Yeah.
that told me that I'm not straight.
Oh.
Holy shit. And just oh my god. Okay. And so it's a movie that Tom Arnold is good in, which is a Herculean feat. Because every time, I don't know if it's just me, but every time I see Tom Arnold in a cast, I'm like, oh great, this movie's gonna suck. But no, not only does this movie not suck, he makes it better with his presence. Who knew?
Yeah.
Bill Paxton plays a great sleazeball, like just a scumbag. The vet gets him wet. Oh my god!
Bill Paxton drawing from his Aliens character. Where's the real pretty shit now, man? Like, wait, what are you doing, Bill Paxton?
This is the punk that the Terminator didn't take out in 1984. Like, but just he's played such a good sleazebag, and I love Bill Paxton. And R.I.P. Bill Paxton, he's incredible. Don't have a bad thing to say about him. Tia Carrere is not only fucking gorgeous and sexy and smart, she makes a really great villain.
Surprisingly great villain.
To the point where you hate her. Which is
Just
great.
One quick question, Sean. When Tia Carrere and Jamie Lee Curtis finally have their fight at the end of the movie, were you screaming cat fight like Joey, what's his nuts from ECW?
Joey Styles.
Yes. Cat fight! Cat fight!
I would go out of my way to avoid imitating Joey Styles, but I got to admit the temptation was there.
Yeah, very good. Go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, so I saw this movie when I was like 9 or 10, so I was like at the precipice of puberty. So it's like, okay, so this is what it's like to be a woman, and okay, so now I know like what I can aspire to be is either Helen or Juno or both. And so I didn't even realize that, or I had no idea who Eliza Dushku was.
Nobody will for several more years.
Yeah, because the first thing that I recall seeing her in was Bring It On.
That's everyone's.
Buffy.
No one remembers Elijah Dushku was in this movie. Everyone thinks her first movie is Bring It On.
Because she looks about 13, because that's how old she was.
Right.
Just this movie is incredible. It's funny. It's suspenseful. It's action packed. It's sexy. Like now I do kind of see it for Arnold. I do kind of see, yeah, all right, he's a sex symbol. I can see it.
This movie does all the right things Commando and Last Action Hero did, and none of the wrong.
Yeah.
David, your thoughts?
This is one of those films where you get funny Arnold and action Arnold just blended together absolutely perfectly.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and like just what a great premise! Like the whole a husband is suspicious that his wife might be having an affair, but turns out he's a super spy, part of like a unspecified government agency with unlimited funding and technology and resources, and he just uses all of that to spy on her.
And get her to confess he's not having an affair. That she's to be a man in that movie. I'm going to use untold power to find out for sure if you still love me.
Yes, and not to mention the lack of oversight to let him get away with it. At no point during any of the paperwork he filed, it's down and go like, wait a minute, they got the same last name.
Government
But, yeah.
waste, government schmaced.
Yeah, but yeah, the film is very much in two parts. Where the first half of the movie is just like all the sitcom comedy of Arnold spying on Helen, and the Bill Caxton character, and it's just perfectly done, and they never make it go too crazy yet to the point where you think like, okay, this isn't real. This is Get Smart now. Yeah, and then you just kind of have that. It actually transitions very well into getting then into the big terrorist plot. Those wonderful years before 2001. Where just these people over there who hate our lives and hate our freedoms, but they're kind of cute. You know, they're never going to accomplish anything.
Back in the days where Muslims were the bad guys.
Not going to say anything. It works very good, and the whole like the way that Jamie Lee Curtis is just believably the frustrated housewife who's trying to stay faithful to her husband, but she's also got this sleazeball manipulating her, and then just sort of the betrayal at learning that he's a spy. But then all that kind of makes sense to I married Rambo, actual line in the movie.
But it's not like I married Rambo. It's oh my god, I married Rambo.
Yeah, well,
like,
it's more like the
she's
shock.
burdened.
Yeah, she's just seen him like murder 20 guys without breaking his foot. She's just like, my god, I married Rambo.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, the action scenes are fantastic. Like I can pretty much remember them all. The snowmobile chase, him whacking the dogs together, still one of the best best fight moments ever.
I had forgotten about that and laughed hard.
Yeah, sliding down the mountainside, shooting the gun back at the people on the snowmobiles, riding the horse through the hotel. It's just it's perfect. The flamethrower from the gas. It's just so many good things, and of course you get to the end and like military aviation buffs. If you like the Harrier, this is your movie. And other than like boy would they have run out of fuel instantly. It's just a really creative scene where they're like bumping around the crane and people are falling off and trying to get to places, and it still seems quite grounded despite that. And I mean, the only place it really gets silly is when the guy gets hooked on the missile and he shoots it into the
you're fired.
Yes, you're fired. And it's just okay, I don't think that's how that would have really gone if they had tried that for real. But at this point, it's like you're just so like rooting for that guy to get his. It's fantastic.
At 2 hours and 10 minutes, you're also rooting for this thing to be fucking over. Like he wouldn't care where he shot that missile or with who on it. Hang on, let me unmute you, Kat, because there's like noise in your background. Go ahead, one more time, Kat.
I said, you bite your tongue, sir. This is 2 hours and 10 minutes well spent.
Yeah, this is a film that earns its runtime, I think.
It does.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's too long. That's not what I'm saying at all. So my thoughts on, I'm going to let Sean back clean up and then we'll get out of here. My thoughts on True Lies. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Even at 2 hours and 10 minutes, my issues with it, if any, are that because I've been doing this for so long and I'm more or less plugged in with what's going on in the world in terms of culture and how people react to things. I'm watching the kinds of stuff they're having Jamie Lee Curtis do and the kinds of stuff Arnold is doing to her. And I'm like, oh, I don't have a problem with this. But in 2025, I would guarantee you if I showed it to a bunch of Gen Zers, I would be getting a lecture in emojis on how problematic this movie is. Like, this is a movie that has aged like milk in terms of
aspects of it, yes.
Terms of where the culture has gone. I don't care, but I'm old and slightly chauvinist, so who gives a fuck? But it was hard to watch this thing knowing how people react to stuff now and going, ooh, because I didn't watch this one with my kids either, and I can only imagine my daughter's reaction to the hotel scene with her and Arnold. But let me talk about the actual film craft. Like I said, it's pretty perfect, and it's not an easy feat to blend what they did here because they really did like a kind of romantic comedy about a housewife who thinks her husband doesn't love her anymore and doesn't pay any attention and is always working late. And so she gets involved with this, that, and the other thing because she's bored at home and wants to feel loved, and don't we all? With an action movie about a spy who's trying to take down a terrorist organization. and it blends effortlessly, even though those two things sound like peanut butter and pickle juice. Like, like I give a lot of credit to the writing staff on this movie. They really effectively managed to jury rig that together, because they don't, in anybody else's hands besides James Cameron and his writing team on this, I don't think this works as well.
Yeah.
Before, when I said in The Last Action Hero, you don't really get enough of Arnold doing stuff. Boy, they more than made up for it here. You know, there are long sequences of Arnold doing all the Arnold stuff. Like, this is Arnold in his journey. What do you call it? Any way you want it years. Like, he is playing all the hits. He's playing what all the white people like. You know, everyone's rocking out. They got the lighters out. It is one big Arnold hit after another. And I'll say this, and I'll hand it over to Sean. That airplane sequence is worth waiting for. That, you know, sometimes just like in a wrestling match or any kind of sports game, you're building towards a finale, and sometimes the finale pays off, and you're like, worth the wait. And sometimes you're like, oh, that was underwhelming. Like, the ride getting here was good, but the last stop was not great. The main event's a dud. Not this one, man. That plane sequence is something else. Like, when they finally save Jamie Lee Curtis from dying on the bridge in the Keys, you're led to believe that's the end of the movie. They get to the place. They reconcile with the cops and everything. And you're like, all right, the movie's over. And they're like, haha, they kidnapped the daughter. And then because we haven't done this yet, Arnold Schwarzenegger steals a plane, because that's something a guy can do. And he goes and he flies into Miami, and he shoots buildings, and they're doing, Cirque du Soleil on the plane. And like you said before, Dave, and it looks awesome, utterly implausible, but it looks awesome. And it's not something I see in a lot of movies. So here for doing what movies should be doing, is giving the audience something they weren't going to get anywhere else. Sean?
Is my audio coming in okay? Because your connection went really, really wonky on me.
Yeah, your audio's coming in fine.
You're fine.
Oh, okay, good. It must just be something on other ends then. Anyway, this is the movie that went at a dead sprint so that Mr. and Mrs. Smith could lazily jog. You'll find action movies that can be sexy. You'll find action movies that can be funny. You'll find action movies that can inject just a little bit of humanity and character into them. Sometimes a lot of humanity and character. You won't find very many that manage to successfully achieve all three, and you will not find any that do them as well all at once as True Lies. The worst things I can say about this movie are that, number one, I agree, James Cameron sometimes needs somebody to look at the running time of his movies and just say, no, we're not doing that this time.
Stop it.
Case in fucking point right here. I will say that, yes, there are parts of this movie that age like milk. There are parts of this movie that yes, deserve to be said that they age like milk. They absolutely do. I think that you could. The problem is not that you couldn't
Oh shit.
those elements. You absolutely 100% could do this without those elements. The problem is you couldn't do this without that cast where they were in their careers at that time. You couldn't do this without an Arnold Schwarzenegger who had evolved that much. You could not do this without a Jamie Lee Curtis who was that at home within her own skin. You can't do this without Tom Arnold being, and I would disagree that he's untalented, just that, he should never carry a movie. But this is one example of one time where he was given a really juicy plum role, and hands down, no qualifying, he knocked it out of the fucking park the entire every step of the way.
Yeah,
Just like how
he
I
can become
said that John
dangerously
McTiernan.
he can become dangerously shrill in that character, and he is not. He is actually very well composed in that kind of character.
I'm unfortunately not going to be able to react to anything that's being said because the audio is so garbled. I can't really understand anything, unfortunately. But I mean, I'll try to finish up kind of as quickly as I possibly can. Everything about this movie is just kind of measured to perfection. I had forgot what a swelteringly sexy movie this was until I watched it again. And it's kind of added with the fact that you have to add to that the fact that Arnold is not fucking around here. He's actually trying to kind of bring some real kind of leading man tenderness and romantic passion to that hotel scene, despite it being what it obviously is in place in the story. But you can tell he's trying. It's the Austrian oak out here actually pretty effectively conveying intimacy issues and blending that with one of the most gloriously grandiose action spectacles ever committed to film. And somehow, some fucking how, it works. And despite the fact that, we've acknowledged that the Islamophobia and the misogyny, yes, it ages terribly. It ages horrendously. But visually, as far as craft goes, man, this holds up so fucking well. I would dare say that if somebody said that this was the better overall movie in Arnold's filmography over Terminator 2, I would disagree, but I could see where they were coming from. And I would have a really hard time actually arguing that, because I think you've got, once more, another acclaimed director, one of the titans of their time, of all time, who is able to get an absolutely superlative performance out of him and just absolutely milks that unprecedented, almost never matched action movie chemistry between him and Jamie Lee. Tom was the best kind of sideman foil this side of Danny DeVito. Everything just could not have come together in a better way. 10 out of 10. This is an absolute still must see today.
I wanted to say, because I didn't mention it before. So when we see the kind of movies that Arnold's in, he's, a military person, or warrior, Conan the Barbarian, that kind of thing. He's stuff that's appropriate for his musculature. The history of spies is guys who, look like James Bond. They are not as muscular. Good beefy men, but they're not, they're not bodybuilders. And you would think Arnold looks out of place in that role, but he doesn't. He fills out the suit really well. Like that opening sequence where he dances with Tia Carrara. If you pitched it to me, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Hulk Hogan dancing with a tiny, with a tiny woman. That seems ridiculous. Then you watch it, you're like, holy shit, he's kind of sexy. Like that's good stuff. And then you think like, he's by this point he's done Kindergarten Cop. He's done, he's done stuff with kids, and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I'd necessarily buy him as a dowdy family man. Somebody who looks realistic in that role. And then you watch him with Eliza Dushku and you watch him with Jamie Lee Curtis when they're just a family. And it's like, holy shit, I actually buy this too. Like, it sometimes range in an actor, you have to kind of see them do different things. I remember like when I did headshots for Hollywood, I remember seeing this one guy look kind of like I do now, and in like one shot he's got like Renaissance gear on, another he's a biker, and another one is a Viking, and it's just like, okay, you change the costume, change the settings, and give them good stuff to work with. You'd be surprised what you can get out of some of these actors. And as kind of my final thought on Arnold Schwarzenegger leading into this, and I'll give everybody else an opportunity, a final thought. I think because, one, I don't think this I said a while back on my TikTok, this generation doesn't really understand or appreciate 80s action. They're too far removed from it. The genre evolved a lot from there, and there's been a lot in between. But I make it a point now to show it to my kids because, like, this is what masculinity used to look like. And it would be easy to be like, okay, well, that's the end of it then. But no, like Arnold Schwarzenegger hit a lot of different points. You know, he was masculine, he was this, he was that, he could be vulnerable. Like, one of the things about True Lies that I really liked upon rewatch is here's this big, beefy, godlike guy with a square jaw, and all the money and influence in the world, and he's afraid Jamie Lee Curtis might be cheating on him. Like, he couldn't go out and get another broad at any moment, and it doesn't matter. This is the woman for him, and he loves her dearly, and he's more than any bullet does in the movie. He's hurt by the possibility that he fucked up, and she's now wanting to be with somebody else because he can't get his shit straight. And it's McNulty without all the angst.
He often realizes that it's his fault too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's McNulty without the angst. What McNulty somewhat is known for in The Wire is his, dedication to the job at the expense of all else, to the point where he can't get his family back no matter how hard he tries, or his wife, I should say. So those are my thoughts. I think Schwarzenegger is really underrated and not appreciated, and I think this generation would do well to go back and study his early filmography. There's a lot to be learned from it. David, your final thoughts?
I think I kind of got most of it out in my initial spiel, but yeah, I think it still stands up. It's a great action comedy. Yeah, everybody involved just at the top of their game, doing exactly what they needed to say
about Arnold or anything. Any other thoughts?
I think about the only other thought I could say for True Lies is I remember, like, there's that scene at the end of near the end of the film where, like, the main terrorist character, he's they've got the nuclear bomb, and he's like, I want a film crew. This is when they have his daughter as well, and the film crew comes in, and you notice it's like Arnold's co-workers, like the guys from the van. And you have like the nerdy guy who's like always working the computer, and you get to the bit where, like, shit starts going down, and you just see, like, the nerdy guy pull a gun right out of that camera and just, like, pop like 5 guys, boom, 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 boom. And you're like, holy shit, this guy knows his stuff.
Right.
And could you imagine that character this day? Of course you can't, because that character would not exist. He'd be the dorky,
shot the gun and, like, thrown the gun.
Yeah, he would have, like, picked the gun and like, oh, gun, oh, save me. I get what it's like, but it was just like, like, this is like a super secret, highly elite, spy organization.
Right.
Everyone there is lethal.
Yeah, just because you're in the van doesn't
mean that he doesn't have basic weapons training. Come on, guys.
Exactly.
You were saying the same thing. Kat, your final thoughts about the entirety of this podcast, Arnold, life, the universe, and everything.
All right, about this. Yeah, so, like I said, I love Arnold. Oh, also, guys, haven't you noticed, and maybe it's just me, that so his nationality is never addressed, ever, in any of his movies, except for maybe, I don't know, Junior? He always has a super anglicized name. Tasker, Matrix, whoever he was, and it's always like not a hint of German, or not a hint of German, Austrian, Central European.
He's never Schmidt. He's never Tom Schmidt
or Schweitzer, or or something, or Schultz. Yeah, Glagenflugen.
Harry Glagenflugen.
But yeah, like, I mean, he does kind of, you never realize it, but like he always just kind of like slides into a role like a glove. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, he's never gonna play, like, he's never gonna be in a I don't know, or Scorsese film. He's never going to be Hamlet. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, you already did that. Sorry. We already talked about that.
Yeah. Or I mean, and also he's obviously never going to be a Nazi. Thank God. But like he is kind of who he is. It's like what you see is what you get, and you get this big goofy guy who is just as comfortable snapping you in half as it is, as he is making you a dozen chocolate chip cookies and doing your taxes.
Getting you right in his tank.
Sean,
Or
any
we
final
can
words?
crush things.
Exactly.
Sean,
You
any
know.
final words?
Yeah, I do. I think that Arnold is one of the great stars of his era. And yeah, I would even say one of the great celebrities that kind of belongs alongside the likes of Pamela Anderson and Nick Cage and Anna Nicole Smith, albeit much less tragic than some of those, in terms of stars that we really have to acknowledge we got them wrong.
Yeah.
And really, their collaborators and their agents kind of failed them in terms of being able to properly contextualize them so they could be understood and appreciated. I'll go with Nick as the best possible example, because here's a guy who became famous for how many absolutely shit awful movies he was in. And you can't tell me that a fair amount among us didn't feel a little bit bad about how we had judged him and maligned him when we learned that that was not him at his best. That was him taking movies that he knew were going to be bad, that he knew he was only going to be able to do so much in. But the fact of the matter is, he needed the money. And so often that is kind of what a lot of great performances came from. The actress who played Pamela Voorhees thought that the original Friday the 13th was a chunk of shit. Then her car broke down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Betsy Palmer did not want to reprise a role in shit.
Yeah. Sir Alec Guinness thought that Star Wars was going to be an absolute flop at the time. But then you have kind of other celebrities, like I said, like Pamela Anderson, who are kind of shoeholed into one very convenient image that made other people a lot of money. I'm sure made her a lot of money. But in the long run, did it really do her legacy any favors? No, not really. And I think that Arnold being pigeonholed like that kind of, and feel free to disagree with this, I welcome it, may have kind of set the example that I think current action stars like Batista and John Cena particularly look to and go, whoa, maybe I don't want to do this my entire career. Maybe it's okay to do this and kind of go back to my wheelhouse, but I think I need to branch out and grow a little bit more so that I don't just become, the grunting baby oiled beefcake in every single movie that I'm in.
Right. And then and then they do, like, if you watch Peacemaker, like
Mm-hmm.
John Cena as Chris has a lot of pathos and like a lot of like quiet moments with ads and with Amelia, like where he's just a guy. He's just a guy trying to do the right thing, pouring out his heart. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I know that we got off.
No, that's all right.
I was actually gonna piggyback on your point. I'm sorry, Sean. I hate this.
No, go ahead. Piggyback away.
Okay, so if you kind of look at Arnold and like just his physicality and his mannerisms, he's kind of like the proto Marvel superhero.
That's what I said at the top of this thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that there would I honestly don't think that that Marvel movies like the first, Captain America and Iron Man would not have done as well if he hadn't set you know, like if he hadn't set this standard for what men in action movies look like, you know?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Well, folks, that is our celebration, appreciation, initiation of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just in time for,
Masturbation.
yes, all the shuns. Just in time for Thanksgiving because what a turkey. Alrighty. Enough of the tired
But
metaphors and whatnot. I had fun. I hope everyone else did too.
I do too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Outstanding. What happened this week? It's been a long week.
Well,
It's only Tuesday, Lemon. On Sunday, myself and Jesse did a source material recordings. We looked at Santa Claus, Private Eye by Jeremy Bernstein, Superman and the Authority, and Multiple Man. It all makes sense in the end. Monday, we subbed out Damn You Hollywood so that we could do not one but two movies. We did both versions of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and a fun time was had by all. Nothing on Tuesday. Alexis and Jesse talked talked Gen V season 2 on Wednesday. This Sunday, David, you'll be back. Allegedly, Andrew's threatening to do a podcast, assuming hockey's done now with his kid. We will be looking at our Veterans Day show, Masters of Masters of Air, the third part of the Band of Brothers and the Pacific Trilogy. So that'll be fun. Speaking of Arnold, on Monday, Damn You Hollywood is back. We'll be talking Predator Badlands. Wednesday, Alexis is hosting myself, David again, and Jesse, and we're going to talk Only Moitas in the Building, Season 5. And then a week from tonight, myself and Sean and Kat will be doing an on trial for the Arnold Schwarzenegger. Boy, this is all Arnold all month long. The Arnold Schwarzenegger adaptation of a Stephen King classic, The Running Man. Because
it's going to be him and the guy that does the Feared.
Yes. So, and that is because there's a new Running Man out now, and we'll be doing that on Damn You Hollywood the following week. Kat, where can people find you and all your wonderfulness?
Well, I'm on Facebook under my government name, Kathleen Benton Scott. I'm on Instagram under Kitty Benton, which I need to do more shit with. I have a movie on Troma now called Christmas Chaos. First month free, $4.99 each subsequent month. We are going to be reviewing it December 11th on this very podcast.
Woohoo!
With along with Romeo and Juliet and Frankenhooker, which I'm very excited about. I have never been able to review a movie that I have actually been in or, had a hand in, so that's going to be weird. Nick wants to know if you want him on the podcast because he is the director and one of the co-executive producers. You can tell me no.
If he wants to do it, it's fine.
All right, well, I will talk to him. Yeah, but what else? I am going to be, as you guys know, or as everybody knows out there in YouTube land, I'm coming back on next Thursday, which is the 13th for The Running Man. And then is it the 20th?
The following Thursday it is me and Sean again.
We are doing Showgirls. We're doing Striptease. We're doing Hustlers. I have not seen Hustlers yet, but I have a whole ass dissertation planned for Showgirls.
Wonderful.
And also for Striptease.
I have wanted to talk about Showgirls for many years now.
That
show was originally put together to punish Chris Bailey, and we never got that together. So, instead we get to have fun with it.
That movie doesn't suck.
It can't be reviewed in action figure sales, so.
Sean, why don't you tell all the people what you're twitching and shouting about?
All right. I for one, wholeheartedly endorse doing just implied nudity for the entirety of the Showgirls podcast. I am just throwing that out there. Anyway, I am also on Instagram and sometimes Threads at Comer Codex, just like the handle in my Twitch channel. No stream tonight because I am actually doing some intensive technical maintenance so that I can hopefully, fingers crossed, stream tomorrow morning, probably around 8 a.m. I've been away from streaming for a little bit due to work stuff, but without trying to get too personal, some shakeups are kind of looming at my workplace, and I'm realizing that I kind of want to start throwing myself into some passion projects again. And hopefully one of them maybe turns into not just an outlet, but a whole other avenue entirely. So first and foremost, I'm going to get back tomorrow morning to not just streaming, but streaming some competitive Overwatch. It's about mid-season. I still have time to knock some rust off. So let's play some ranked games and watch me make hopefully not too big an ass out of myself, maybe. I make no guarantees.
All right, David, you got anything, or are you good to go?
No, I'm good to go.
Wonderful. Well, folks, thank you for joining us here on Triple Feature. For David, Kat, and Sean, I am Coffee McGee. Be well, be safe, and behave.